What if I told you your dog isn't just one animal, but trillions of tiny lives all working together? So those microbes, most of them living in the gut, weigh almost as much as your dog's brain. So in a 25 kilo Labrador, that's around 300 to 500 grams of living organism. So together they digest food, train the immune system, and even send messages to the brain. We call this vast community the microbiome. And when it's balanced, it quietly keeps your dog healthy, but when it's disturbed, it can trigger inflammation, change mood and behavior, and even accelerate aging. Hi, I'm Jim, a veterinary surgeon and the founder of Science for Pets. After 20 years in practice, one thing has become clear. So many of the health issues we see in dogs begin in the gut. That's why we're starting this channel, to explore the science behind your dog's health, beginning with the fascinating world of the microbiome. So today, right here in the clinic, let's take a closer look at what the microbiome actually is, how it works, what happens when it goes wrong, and what you can do to keep it thriving. When we talk about the microbiome, we're talking about the ecosystem of bacteria, fungi, and other microbes that live mainly in your dog's intestines, especially the large bowel. Now, there are trillions of them, representing hundreds of species. Maybe think of them like wildlife in a rainforest. The greater the variety, the healthier the system. So your dog and their microbes form what scientists call a superorganism, a partnership where both depend on each other. Your dog provides the food and shelter. The microbes in turn help digest nutrients, produce vitamins, and protect against harmful bacteria. A diverse microbiome acts like a resilient ecosystem. If one species falters, others step in to keep things balanced. But lose that diversity and the system becomes fragile. That's when disease and inflammation can creep in. Now here's where things get really interesting. Now your dog's gut isn't just a long tube for digesting food, it's actually connected directly to their brain. There's a constant conversation happening along what we call the gut-brain axis. It's like a two-way motorway of information. So nerve signals travel up and down the vagus nerve, and chemical messengers such as serotonin and short-chain fatty acids circulate in the bloodstream. And then the immune system relays messages about what's going on inside the intestines through the bloodstream directly to the brain. So in humans, we know that this second brain in the gut contains about 500 million nerve cells. And dogs are built the same way. Their gut has its own mini nervous system that works independently, but in constant contact with the main brain. So when a dog is stressed, anxious, or frightened, those signals reach the gut in seconds. And the gut replies, altering digestion, changing which microbes thrive, even influencing mood and behavior. Now you've probably seen it, a nervous dog with an upset stomach before a vet visit, or loose stools after a fireworks night. And that is the gut-brain axis in action. The key takeaway is that the microbiome doesn't just affect what happens inside the intestines, it's part of the bigger picture of your dog's mental and physical health. So what actually keeps a dog's microbiome healthy? Well, the short answer is diversity, both in microbes and diet. And inside a healthy gut, thousands of bacterial species coexist, each doing slightly different jobs. Some help digest fibre, others produce vitamins, others protect the gut wall or signal to the immune system. And if one species drops off, another can take over, a bit like a resilient ecosystem in nature. But when that variety shrinks, the whole system becomes fragile. And that's what we see after repeated antibiotic use or long-term stress or diets that are the same every single day. And diet is one of the biggest drivers of microbial diversity. Dogs fed a varied fibre-rich diet, especially those eating raw or fresh food with different plant fibres, tend to have a more robust, adaptable microbiome. In contrast, ultra-processed diets that are low in natural fibre can starve the beneficial bacteria that rely on those complex carbohydrates for fuel. And over time, that can shift the gut from a balanced cooperative system to one that's dominated by fewer, less helpful species. And that's when the trouble can start. Inflammation, immune overreaction, and even effects on mood and metabolism. So the goal isn't just to add bacteria through probiotics, it's to nourish the right ones through consistent, balanced nutrition. When the microbiome loses its balance, things can start to go wrong, sometimes quietly over months or even years. And we call this dysbiosis, when the good and the bad bacteria fall out of balance. When the good bacteria are starved of fibre and diversity, their populations shrink, and that leaves more space for less friendly species to take over. So those unfriendly species can irritate the gut lining, produce inflammatory molecules, and make the gut wall more permeable, something often called a leaky gut. Now that doesn't mean that the gut is literally leaking, but it does mean that bacterial fragments and toxins can cross into the bloodstream. And your dog's immune system will react to those signals. And if it keeps happening, it can create a chronic low-grade inflammation throughout the body, known as a pro-inflammatory state. And we see this in humans as well. Over time, the pro-inflammatory state can affect joints, skin, metabolism, and even behavior. And it's one of the reasons why older dogs often seem to slow down, develop itchier skin, or gain weight more easily. Not just because of aging itself, but because their gut health has changed. Well, the good news is that this process isn't irreversible. By restoring microbial balance, we can help to dial down that inflammatory response, supporting healthier aging from the inside out. So how do we actually support a healthy microbiome in our dogs? Well, the key is to think long term, not quick fixes, but feeding and protecting that inner ecosystem every single day. A balanced gut relies on variety, fibre, and stability. So this means feeding foods that nourish your dog's microbes as well as your dog. And when those microbes get the right nutrients, especially natural fibres, they produce compounds that help calm inflammation, strengthen the gut barrier, and even communicate with the brain. And that's where the concepts of prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics come in. So prebiotics feed the beneficial bacteria. Probiotics help to maintain the balance, and postbiotics, well, they're the beneficial molecules that the good bacteria naturally produce. And together they create a three-layered approach to gut health, feeding, replenishing, and supporting the microbiome. Much of what we understand about this comes from research in humans. And in people, imbalances in the gut microbiome have been linked to conditions like inflammatory bowel disease, obesity, arthritis, and even anxiety and depression, all connected through this so-called gut-brain axis. We don't yet have the same depth of evidence in dogs, but early studies are pointing in the similar direction. So we should be careful not to overstate the science, but it's clear that the gut plays a vital role in overall well-being. At Science for Pets, that understanding guided me to develop a vet-led formulation that combines a pre, pro, and postbiotic in ways that complement everyday feeding and support digestive and immune health. They're not a replacement for good nutrition, but a way to reinforce the foundations of a healthy gut. And if you'd like to start making changes today, why not consider adding a little more variety to your dog's diet? Include some gentle fibre sources such as vegetables or oats. Now, some are suggesting that gut health and microbiome will be the next medical revolution, and you can quickly check your dog's gut health for free using our GutKind scorecard, a quick way to assess your dog's gut health and see where small improvements could make a big difference. Just follow the link in the description.